listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Hannibal After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Hannibal After Show.
This is the worst song choice.
That song, I won't say whose idea it was. Welcome to the
but I will
Hannibal.
say it wasn't me.
It's Joe Sanfelippo's idea. Welcome to the Hannibal AFTERBUZZ After Show. I'm Joe Braswell. I'm joined, as always, by the lovely Julie Cearley, who's here in person.
Hello, it's nice to be back. I missed you guys last week.
I'm joined on the phone by the lovely Nando Velasquez, who's not here in person.
Oh, I'm not there. Hi, you getting my best side, right?
Yes, you look
Looking
fantastic.
good.
You got my best side?
That's the best you've
Yeah.
ever looked, actually.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
be nice.
And we're not joined by the lovely Joe Sanfelippo, who is coming back from a 3-day bender in Las Vegas. I'm just going to cut. He calls me out all the time. He's always calling me out
This
for.
is the only show where people don't show up because they're drunk. That's why I have to be on the phone.
Did you guys say I was somewhere drunk last week?
No, I said you were doing acting.
I was doing acting.
Yes, as you were.
Some Top Gun acting.
And so we're here. That was the lovely Britney Spears and "Piece of Me," in honor of the R.I.P. Beverly Cats.
Oh, Beverly Cats.
Which is probably not the most sensitive song we can choose for to eulogize the lovely Beverly
It's all right.
Cats.
It was a nice try. It was a shot. Pieces of Me. Get it, guys.
Pieces of Me.
Pieces.
Jewel.
She was in Pieces.
All right.
Yeah.
Joe's been trying to get a Britney Spears song on the top of the show for a while.
It's been my priority.
Yeah.
It's been a huge priority of mine to get Brit on the show.
Well, there you go.
Congrats. That's what I call her.
Brit.
Anyway, so Hannibal, man, episode 5. Here we go.
Mukozuke.
Mukozuke.
Yeah? Is
Yeah,
that right?
or Mukozuke, yeah.
Mukozuke?
Mukozuke, which ironically, I believe, is a two, it's just sashimi in 2 parts. So it kind of has a lot to do with poor B. Katz was in multiple parts, but.
Sliced and diced.
Sliced and diced like sashimi
Like
might
sashimi.
be. So that answers, first of all, we answer our questions of last week. Will Beverly Cats make it out alive or not? And
Nope.
we know that.
That's a big fat nope. There was still a piece of me that was just hoping.
Oh, a piece of me. I see what you did.
But wait, her character is alive in the books,
Well, is that true?
apparently.
I don't know that that's
what
true.
somebody said last week. I wasn't sure about
I think I said that. I think I was wrong. If you're quoting me, then you better watch out.
But that's fine. If it doesn't, The Walking Dead does that, obviously, with the source material. They try and deviate a little bit from it.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
we're assuming things are going to stay on course with the books, but it's nice to have a surprise or two.
Well, Brian Fuller's been really good about sort of staying on canon and what he's done is he's taking, there's a little notion, this whole Hannibal season, this whole show is basically, the whole first 3 seasons is based on probably what he saw as an idea based in I think it was 3 pages of Red Dragon. So he's read these 3 pages and was like, this is a show. So I think that, I think that there's definitely room for interpretation there. But one of the things we'll get to later too is that these characters are, he's taking liberty with the characters, but only in sort of race and gender, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Making Beverly Cats, who's Jewish, not casting Gideon Park, making Freddie Lounds a woman,
yeah.
making Jack African American. So it's just he's done
He
some
has
really
some
cool
creative
things.
license, and
Yes.
I think he should have creative license with pieces of the story as well.
And varied pieces, and very inclusionary.
Yes.
So I appreciate all that. Which I'll get to this later. He seems to be taking some fire over racism and sexism. Because he's killing off the only Asian character, which is I think it's just absurdly ridiculous. But I want people to have their voice. And Gideon Park wrote a nice piece on that, addressing that as well. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into this episode.
Please. Oh, please.
Man, so Freddie Lounds, the Snoop. It opens.
It opens.
And we see well, it opens with it open with, doesn't open with Freddie Lounds. It opens
No.
with Jack and Hannibal, right?
It
And it's-
opens first with the difference between the meals, really.
Right. That's right.
Yes, what Hannibal is eating versus the slop that poor Will. Oh, that was
Poor
fast.
Will
Poor
is-
Will
yeah,
is eating.
hashtag poor Will.
Poor Will. Sorry, man.
Making a delicious, lovely kidney. I, for a second thought that was the famous kidney in fava beans. From that. But it was, man. Hannibal loves a kidney. He can prep a kidney.
Yes, he can. He's got skills.
It looked delicious, except for the fact that it belonged to to Beverly Katz, I'm assuming. And but we did, after we got through that montage, we did get to see Freddie Lounds make the discovery, which I was not expecting that.
I was expecting something major. I wasn't expecting that. That was a bit of a shocker.
Definite shocker. Nando, what did you think when you saw like that level of that reveal in terms of the way she met her demise?
That was, well, first of all, it's just really interesting because, I mean, we get to see later on exactly how Hannibal, I guess, captured Beverly. But, considering that last shot, she was someone with a gun who was trying to shoot Hannibal, and yet to have this person frozen, as we found out, and sliced like that in such a still way.
Yeah.
Just the amount of work that went into that. It just did not seem like, based on where we left off the episode at the end last week, it just didn't seem. It seemed like way too much care was put into creating this tableau.
Sure.
Of Beverly Katz, so it surprised the hell out of me. And even putting in the observatory, I'm sure there's some more deeper meaning in there that we're not even aware of.
You think there was
Jules.
too much care put into it? Because I think it was a bit of an homage to her. I think it was a respectful way, because I think he respected her work, and it was reminiscent of her work.
I guess that makes sense in a way. I mean, put her in a very scientific building, and having her almost like on display in multiple parts, like getting to see her insides in a very scientific way. I guess that's true. I guess if you look at it that way, it was very much so.
She was picked apart, they said, the way that she would dissect or pick apart a crime scene.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was
Still, this is a woman who was attacking Hannibal, though. So it's amazing that he's like, oh, I need to defend myself. I need to stop this threat. And by the way, let me make a very artsy way of killing her.
Well, I think that
Let me create this.
Yeah, first of all, if we know anything about Hannibal or his alter ego or whatever it is, the Shrike. I mean, the deaths, all these deaths are presented in they're dramatic in presentation and also in meaning. So there's something to there. That's the first thing. But the second thing is not so much. I mean, the reason why she's in the observatory is it's a message to Jack, and so like the last person Jack sent after Hannibal, who got a little close, who's like, yeah, you're getting close to Hannibal. This is sort of Hannibal's way of saying, like, you know what, you can send people to get close to me all you want, but this is,
That's where he found Miriam Lass's
yeah.
arm. I will say, though, we were talking about how much care he takes into the presentation of his kills, but those are planned, and this was not a planned murder.
No.
So that was, did he just have all that laying around?
Hey, he thinks on his feet. That Hannibal.
It's just, I have these ginormous glass slides.
He's like, let me see.
Let's flash freeze her.
This is not something you have a mise en place for. You're as a chef preparing the meal. He did not really have much chance to either he had this prepared for somebody else and he just figured to use it on Beverly, or this is just completely him improvising on the spot in a really weird way.
Yeah, I mean, however the case, we're just going to assume that Hannibal has a bunch of serial killing accoutrements in his lair.
There's a lot of ideas floating up in there.
And he's also got a lot of ideas floating around. So
like his little recipe cards.
It was also very cool, the discovery that, I was wondering, there's always sort of, the presence of blood, and there was that slight presence of blood, but I realized, like, where's that coming from? And she's melting. Like there was a drip, and there was like a trail of ice and little blood in the ice. And I was like, what is
she's melting.
Yeah, because I'm like, what is happening? Like, why is she frozen? I mean, like, and then I'm like, oh, she was frozen.
She's frozen and she's melting.
Blood.
It was really reminiscent, I will say, of this awesome artist I saw in London at the Saatchi Gallery called Damien Hirst, who did, I think it was Damien Hirst, who did a similar sort of dissection of cross-section of different sort of animals.
Oh.
No, I remember the cow. I walked in and out of the cow. Fascinating. Look him up, Damien Hirst.
Okay,
Brilliant.
well maybe this is a Fuller homage to Damien Hirst.
Brilliant artist.
We'll have to ask Mr. Fuller when he comes on.
Yeah.
All right, so that happened, and that was a bummer.
That was a shocker for all involved.
Yeah.
When you shock Freddie Lounds, you know you've done well.
Yeah, I mean that was probably as spectacular as a presentation. The judge was pretty spectacular too. That was probably as spectacular as a death from Hannibal that we've seen, not from these crazy other serial killers.
Sure.
Now, Jack had to go in there, and Freddie gave him a warning, sort of like, send someone else, Jack. It's one of your own. It's some rare compassion from Freddie
I was just going to
Lounds.
say, yeah, we saw a little softer side of Freddie.
Yeah, and but Jack did go in and had a little breakdown.
He had some Top Gun acting there.
Yeah,
That's
some
what
nice
that was.
acting by Mr. Larry Fishburne, and yeah, poor Jack. Like that was some real emotion for a guy who's this hard ass tough guy exterior. He broke down because he cares about Beverly Cats.
Of course.
What'd you think of that sequence, Nando? Oh yeah.
I loved it. Yeah. I mean, it was a good sequence.
Okay, I'll take it.
Poor Jack. He's going through so much. Not only is now another person of his gone,
Right.
being Beverly Katz. His friend Will is incarcerated and
Sure.
going back and forth what's going on with him, but he's also dealing with everything with his wife.
Right.
So I think that was just a little breakdown moment.
Right, which we should touch on before that. We have the scene with Hannibal, and which makes this all the more diabolical because we have this scene where Hannibal is really talking. He's dressed down, not in the three-piece suit for once.
Looked good.
Yeah,
That was
plaid,
a nice look, Matt.
no plaid three-piece suit. He's just kind of like hanging
No
out.
quadruple Windsor.
No quadruple Windsor. Just good old Hannibal. The casual Hannibal.
Casual Hannibal
Business
being casual Hannibal.
Hanging out with his buddy. just two buddies hanging out. But yes.
Nice cable knit sweater.
Yes, yeah. So him and Jack, but that it makes all the more diabolical in that conversation he had with Jack, sort of saying, I did this for you because I wasn't a doctor. I was your friend, and I'm your friend. And meanwhile, he just sliced up his, his girl and put him on display for him, like at the same time. So it's that Hannibal.
That guy.
He's mean.
He's tricky.
He's a meanie. Yeah, so we move forward, and then we see everyone's effect on that, on the death of Beverly Cass and how this affects everyone. The first person we see deal with it is obviously Will. Aside from Freddie Lounds, and then we see Jack, but then Jack comes and tells Will the news, and he says, "I want to see her," and so he gets to leave the facility.
So iconically.
Looking a lot like the Hannibal Lecter of the films, but specifically
It
Silence
was
of the Lambs.
classic Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, go ahead.
This I don't get.
Okay, here we go.
I get the imagery. I totally get putting him in that getup that we are so familiar with for Hannibal Lecter. But Will Graham has not proven him. When we first saw that in Silence of the Lambs, I think it definitely sends a message that this person is dangerous, that this person has probably attacked even people in the prison where Hannibal was at.
Sure.
And that he, kind of like you're muzzling a pit bull. Will Graham has shown absolutely none of that. So I feel like this is just like over dramatic. I get the imagery, and it's nothing against anyone. I get what they're trying to create.
I mean, except for the fact. Go ahead.
I still think it's just a bit ridiculous that Will Graham has not shown. No one has ever even seen him try to kill somebody or hurt somebody. I mean, I get the whole thing when they have him in the cage and they said they don't want anyone to get close to him for spitting rules, but this is not spitting. This is not a spit guard that they put on top of him. This is to stop him from biting people.
But he's still presumed guilty.
I just don't get that.
Yeah, Nando, but come on. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it's pretty straightforward. Dude is accused of doing some of the most heinous murders. If you think of all the murders that Hannibal did, that the Shrike did, like the guy capable of that, which they are convinced is Will Graham through overwhelming evidence, a guy who's capable of killing Abigail and ingesting her ear, like. This guy is dangerous. Now, we know him to be sweet little Hugh Dancy Will, but, as far as the Baltimore Hospital for the Criminally Insane is concerned, we're not taking any chances with this guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you really want to have a guy who is completely capable of doing all the things that we saw Hannibal do, just kicking it in a pair of cuffs?
Well, then if you're going to give that to Will Graham, then give it to every inmate whenever they're doing a day trip. Then that makes more sense.
Maybe they do.
Well, maybe they do, but I don't know how many inmates get day trips either.
Orange jumpsuit, I get all that. Putting the whole, face mask and, putting them on the lift, whatever you call that.
Yeah.
Dolly, driving them around. that's just a little much. I
Okay,
mean, look,
all right.
I'm not taking away the imagery, please. You know, Brian Phillip, if you're listening, I'm not taking away from this.
Too
I
late.
get it, but at the same time, it was like
Brian hates you.
at the same time, it's like, oh man, if he's gonna do that, I want him to earn that out of it.
You
he
mean
has.
like he's killed like 15 people? Like what do you?
And
What
ate
more?
them.
All right, let's move on. Your point is taken. Julie and I disagree. So he goes.
One of my points.
He goes to the crime scene, and we get to see Will do his pendulum act and sort of reenact the thing, which is always so chilling, particularly chilling this time because it's him, strangling Beverly Katz and like doing these things to Beverly Katz, and it's really sort of like,
I loved the device they used of having her there, sort of her spirit or her
Yeah.
ghost, sort of haunting him, not
Right.
only there at the crime scene, but also when he's being told in
Sure.
the jail cell that she's been killed.
Yeah, it gives Hetty and Park another day of
Yeah,
acting.
yeah.
Maybe there'll be more of that.
I hope so.
I like her so much.
I like her too. I'm
right.
gonna
She'll
miss
be in the
her.
river. Maybe she'll be in the stream fishing.
That's true.
She'll be fishing in the stream. There's plenty of room in that damn stream.
And I believe she's pregnant, so you'll only see her like from the waist up, or like from the upper waist up.
Oh,
Okay.
So,
congratulations.
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations on Gideon.
All right, but he reenacts the crime scenes. We find out the how.
Yep.
We find out how, the slicing, which is very gruesome, by the way. That's as gruesome as it comes. It's just the notion, even Frozen, that whole like, him. That was me. That was a saw.
was
by
really
the way.
good. That was a
For
good
those of you
saw.
just listening on iTunes, that was me doing a saw. But sawing that body like that and then splitting it up, that was very, very gruesome.
It's a lot of work.
And a lot of work and a lot of care.
He works fast.
And some Top Gun acting from Hugh Dancy in that
Yeah.
scene too. When it's like, well, why did you even come here? And he says, I wanted to say goodbye.
And also that moment where he tells Jack that she got close. She knew who am I talking about? The Minnesota Strike?
Yes,
Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, that she knew who he was.
Right.
He knows who he is. Jack asks, and he just can't tell him.
Yeah.
He says, you need to find your own way.
Yeah.
Because he said a couple episodes ago, if I say Hannibal Lecter is this guy one more time, I'm
Yeah.
going to look even crazier.
Yeah.
So he can't, and it's killing him.
Interesting. Which and we know obviously from the opening episode of this season that Jack will find his own way ultimately, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
But it's heart wrenching. So he does. He gets to say his goodbye, and he gets back, and then we also get to see our two guys do the autopsy on her.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also
That was heart-wrenching, too.
Heart-wrenching, yeah. That takes away from my my lighthearted comedy web series I wanted for them last week. You missed that, but I want them in a web series. I want Scott Thompson and
Aaron Abrams.
and Aaron Abrams in a web series. But
Sometimes you gotta have a little grounding before the comedy.
Yes, it was good. It was good to see them.
Yeah.
And great, and the great emotion shown and great care shown, and they said how they wanted to be respectful and find out. But what they did find out is that her kidney wasn't hers. It was
The mural guy.
Yes.
James Gray, the mural killer.
It's James Gray's killer, which is just all the more like, So we know that this.
And that's the kidney that she was searching for, that she found as evidence, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty
Yeah.
symbolic of switching those kidneys and then
Yes.
cooking up hers. By the way, that imagery of him putting her kidneys through the meat grinder really upset me. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
I see a lot of things on this show, and I'm like, ew, that's gross. Ew, that's gross. But oh my god,
I mean, yeah. I mean,
that one.
But I mean, like the vegetarians and the vegans of the world, and the people who I know who are those folks, love this. They love to be like, oh yeah, well that's what you're eating anyway. That's what it is. That's what happens. You're like, no, but it's not human. So that's what you're doing. I mean, but it's something to that. There's something too about like looking at the way food is prepared, specifically
Yes.
meat, and looking like how we prepare meat and also organs and like kidneys and all that
Sure.
stuff. We eat all that stuff.
But
so
there's also the layer added to it that this is someone that we cared about.
yeah.
So we have an attachment to this kidney.
Yeah, it's like not the kidney.
Not the kidney. Oh, there
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah.
There it goes. All right.
Right on the fork, right in Hannibal's mouth.
Yum yum.
Yeah, so that is something. That's an interesting device that they're able to use as well there
Yeah.
too. Speaking of that, there's a lot of sort of there's a lot of psychological layers to this, a lot of psychological horror that takes place in this. We sometimes get the blood and guts, and we a lot of times get the suspense. We get every little aspect of horror, but there's a lot of psychological horror that takes place here that they did an excellent job of showing us week to week. Like you just mentioned, the fact that we care about Beverly Katz, and we know her, so just seeing her kidney grind up like that is an extra like torturous meaning for us, the viewer.
Sure.
So props to you for making me upset, Brian Fuller.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks,
man.
So we find that out, and then we have this interesting situation. We see the reappearance of our guy, Dr. Gideon, right?
Eddie Izzard, yes.
Yes,
Dr. Gideon.
Eddie Izzard, Dr. Gideon comes back because Will does a very great job of sort of manipulating, Crap Weasel Chilton into.
He was super sneaky this episode. Raul Esparza as Chilton. Super sneaky, creepy, evil, nasty.
Really, really creepy.
Awesome.
Great. He does a great job.
But
Chilton, he has an opportunity to talk to Will, and Will sort of talks him into, manipulates him into having a conversation with Gideon. And Gideon reveals, basically, inadvertently or inadvertently tells him what he needs to know. Like, how does that take place?
Which part?
I'm sorry. Where Gideon and Will have a conversation first. Have a conversation, and Gideon. First of all, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused here. Chilton and Gideon have the conversation first, and then Will. Is there a Chilton Gideon conversation? Or am I making that up? Or is there only a Will and Chilton conversation?
I think
Nando?
it was Will and Chilton. Or Will and Gideon. Because Will talks to Chilton and appeals to his ego. That seems to be the way to get anything you want from Chilton, is to appeal to his ego and his narcissism, and says, wouldn't it be great if, since I know who this killer is and Gideon knows who the killer is, and we both said it to you, so you're the guy who discovers. You're the guy who uncovers it. So I don't remember there being a Chilton-Gideon conversation.
Well, in the initial, maybe I'm misremembering this. There's when the therapy cages, in the therapy cages.
Will and Gideon.
Will and Gideon.
That's Will and Gideon.
Yes.
Okay. In separate therapy cages, and
Chilton is watching?
Yes.
Yes.
I know what it was. Now I'm confused.
You
now I
are
remember.
confused. There you
Hannibal
go.
and Gideon have that conversation.
Yes.
And Chilton's watching. That is a conversation. And Gideon does a thing where he's like, "Nice to meet you," to Hannibal.
Yes.
And Chilton's. Do you remember that? So
Who's on third?
So, but the one we're talking about right now.
Sorry, I'm trying to get it straight in my mind. I'm sorry.
The one we're focusing on right now is Will and Gideon.
And that
in
conversation.
Their cages.
Right.
Talking about Hannibal.
Right. Where Gideon reveals something. No,
he doesn't.
I'm so confused.
He tells Will. First, he tells Will that you have it, as they say,
right?
The ability to kill, and he never says the name Hannibal. He never admits to it. He says he is the devil. He is smoke.
Right.
And he will never be caught. You're going to have to kill him.
Got it. But Will said he's like, maybe I will.
He says, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I'm just all
What's
over
happening
the
to you?
I have
the
no
point.
notes.
The point is that Will knows
What's happening to me?
that Gideon knows who it is. He knows that Gideon can exonerate him and just say it's Hannibal.
Right.
So this whole little cat and mouse game between them, even in there, where Gideon doesn't want to help Will. Obviously, he wants Will to suffer. Will is the person who shot him.
Yeah, Will tried to kill him.
Whether or not it was fabricated by Hannibal or not. Based on all sorts of lies or whatever games he's playing, he still doesn't want to let Will off the hook.
No.
So there's a little bit of that whole I'm not telling you, almost in the exact same way that Will was being like that with Jack earlier.
Absolutely.
Almost. Different reasons, but still, there's this whole, we all know, and the audience all knows who it is, but none of the characters that have this information want to reveal it for whatever their own selfish reasons are.
And continuing.
And that's what Gideon's playing.
And continuing with the theme of this sort of like mano a mano conversations that we see from Clarice and Hannibal to Will and Hannibal to Hannibal and Gideon to now to Chilton and Will, but now to Gideon and Will. There's a lot of these sort of one-on-one sort of tete-a-tete conversations, which are this whole series is sort of known for. And yes, that conversation.
I will say that.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say that when Gideon did eventually talk to Chilton, which I think was later on in the episode, I think that's what it did, that did kind of ring a bell to me of the. Oh no, maybe it was more Freddie. I think it was when Chilton was talking. Not Chilton. I'm sorry. Gideon was talking to Freddie. That did feel very reminiscent to a Clarice Hannibal moment from the movie.
Right.
It did really ring that bell to me. Yeah.
So I'm sorry that I got so confused there. So now I'm clear. So in that conversation, this is where the seed is planted for Will that he must kill Hannibal, and then which was what he does get from Gideon, even though Gideon doesn't reveal Hannibal as the guy. So. So then, and not necessarily Nora. So then we see the conversation with Will and Gideon, and then we see the conversation with Hannibal and Gideon. And that conversation with Hannibal and Gideon, was that for Chilton? I mean, because that was a conversation there where they clearly know each other, and they clearly are, what was the purpose of that conversation? Why did Hannibal want to go see Gideon?
Maybe he wanted to see how much he knew, how much he was willing to give up.
Or how much he told Will, or what?
Yeah, I think he was trying to get a feel for him, because he was just as surprised that Chilton would bring Gideon back to his psychiatric hospital after he removed his kidney and gutted him, so to say. So I think he's trying to figure out what's going on. How much does Will have his hands in this, and what is Will up to? What is he trying to get out of it?
Right.
I think that Hannibal always felt Gideon was a bit of a kindred spirit. So that I feel that he knows that Gideon has damning evidence, but again, he's fishing now himself, and it's almost in a weird way like he has someone on the inside. He knows he can trust Gideon a little bit, not so much, but just a little bit. So that's the way I looked at it, as that they're just. He sees them, just in the same way that Gideon has respect for Hannibal when he's talking to Will and said, "You're gonna have to kill him." I think Hannibal has a similar type of respect for Gideon.
Right, I agree. So I want to get into the introduction of our guy, the orderly, Matthew Brown. Is that what you said his name was?
Yeah, played by Jonathan Tucker.
Jonathan Tucker from Parenthood, who was ended up being creepy as all hell. He was as creepy as they come.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah, he was good. Like, what do you say? Like, what's that smile? Like, what do you think he was, like, hot?
No. He was just, well, maybe with his shirt off, but that's neither here nor there. He was really good.
Yeah,
yeah, it is somewhere.
Yeah.
He was really. You could just tell that there was something so off in him, even in the scenes before it's revealed that he is the copycat killer.
Right.
When he is walking Freddie through and he goes through those same sort of rules and regulations that we have heard before in Silence of the Lambs. Same sort of thing the first time Clarice goes to see him, and the guard tells her
from Barney.
Yeah, from Barney.
Yes.
Like the do's, the don'ts, don't pass anything, don't take anything from him, yada yada. So this character that he's built has. Just in this one episode, even just standing there, lowering Will when he's on the dolly.
Yeah.
It's just, there's something is so off and just not quite right.
Yeah.
So I think he did a great job of creating this character. And then when it is revealed, the true horror that he is trying to make happen, I think it was just really good.
Well, the reveal was great because there was a moment where Will realizes that in a split second that, oh, you're the guy, and Will doesn't miss a beat. He's very much like, and they have this sort of conversation about, an admirer and what I can do for you. And I'm like you. We're like the same. And Will very much is like, there's a weird moment where he's like, oh, this is the guy, and then just sort of like goes with it immediately. Like, okay, now I can use this guy.
Yep.
Will is very sort of fast on his feet in that respect.
And Will, was very smart and quick in bringing him out and using Freddie to bring him out to the forefront and come out of hiding and approach him and communicate with him.
Sure.
He knew how to appeal to his senses. He's doing a lot of appealing to people's senses in this episode and appealing to their egos and sense of narcissism with Freddie getting her to do what he needed her to do.
Yeah.
With Chilton appealing to his ego to get Gideon there. And now with Orderly as well, Matthew Brown.
Well, and it's also like it's you see, Will is spending a lot of time sort of staring into space, thinking, sorting this whole thing out. But he has this master plan, and he knows he's trying to figure out a way. He's going to, from jail, use his brain to manipulate everyone outside the jail, including Hannibal, to sort of maybe get him out of jail. If not that, then maybe exact revenge or retribution or a lot of these different things. And now that he knows Hannibal did this to Beverly, he's very much completely okay with this guy has to die, even if it doesn't clear me. But he has to go,
Yeah.
Or maybe he thinks that if Hannibal is killed, then they'll go to his house and discover all of his stuff. But I don't know.
It's just interesting. It shows just how much he and Hannibal are alike.
Sure.
But with their psychology and their goal being so completely different. But they're each using what they know psychologically to manipulate to get what they want without really having to dirty their hands too much.
Right. And then I like the idea of this sort of chess game. Hannibal's always 2 or 3 steps ahead, 4 or 5 chess moves ahead of everyone, and Will is now at least a couple of chess moves ahead of people. But he's also doing this thing where he's like not wanting to involve people. He's clearly not wanting to involve Jack any more than he has to, especially after what happened to Beverly. But he's not wanting Alana Bloom sort of came to him like, "What are you doing talking to Freddie? What's going on?" He's like, basically, I had stuff I have to do.
Well, he has to do it himself
Yeah.
because anyone that he sends after him gets killed.
Right. Exactly.
And we keep on saying that Hannibal is 3 steps ahead, but I think maybe he's only like 1 step ahead in this season. Last season he was ahead of everybody. He was lapping everybody. But this season, with Will having a clear mind and nothing but time,
Right.
I think he's losing a little bit of the hold that he had over that entire FBI team.
Right.
And Hannibal can't control the prison that Will's in.
No, exactly.
And Will's taking advantage of that. He's taking advantage of that with Chilton and even bringing Gideon in. So obviously, Will has some tools at his disposal that Hannibal is, he has to figure around. And he right now is, I guess he's kept Will alive because he considers Will a friend. So
Yes.
I think, I don't know if you want to call it hubris. I don't know what you want to call it on Hannibal's part, but he almost is a little trusting. He was 3 steps ahead. Now he's only 1. So he still has an advantage, but we see it shrinking. And like you said before, Will is incredibly on his game right now. And now that he doesn't have the acetylites, he can think through these things and he's piecing everything together. He's playing so many different instruments. He's playing everyone like a fiddle. Getting them based on their ego or whatever it is, hubris, whatever it is, just playing them all. And he's doing it without Hannibal over his shoulder like he was throughout season 1.
But it's interesting how big of a toll that it's taking on him to manipulate these people, as we saw in that one shot with the antlers growing out of his back.
Beautiful.
I mean, that's his guilty conscience coming through. That's his he's channeling a murderer and what's inside of him, and he's becoming one, and he's vengeful, and he's all consumed by this.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just beautifully shot and really, poor Will.
Poor Will.
Hashtag poor Will.
Poor Will. I mean, I agree. I think also, it's a great point, Nando, about him being able to utilize everything where Hannibal can't go, which is inside the criminally insane asylum here, because obviously he's utilizing Chilton, he's utilizing Gideon and all these other folks, and Hannibal's trying to do his best to get in there and sort of like, what did Will tell you? What's going on with Will? Hannibal's trying to do his best to get in and talk to everyone through Chilton. Excuse me, I said Childress earlier. Through Chilton. And through Chilton and through Gideon and even initially through Beverly Katz as well. But, he can't really...
You know what's great? You know what's great, too? The way Hannibal's doing this, too, whenever he's, like, going up to someone, he's not going to someone like he's afraid he's going to get found out. He's going to someone like, let's say you get into a fight with your best friend, and your best friend doesn't want to talk to you anymore, right? Or you just broke up with your girlfriend, and then you see your girlfriend's friend. You're like, so how's my ex-girlfriend doing? How's she doing? It's almost like it really is kind of a relationship thing where he's almost kind of a weird stalker because he has this bromance with Will.
Yeah.
And that's almost more that than more about him getting concerned about getting found out, about Will discovering and letting everyone know on Hannibal's secret. Which I think is really funny.
it's almost like he wants to preserve the relationship with Will at all costs, but like Will is the main priority here, but he still is going to be Hannibal. So let's talk about the final confrontation with the orderly and Hannibal. I mean, he was pretty sneaky. He tracked Hannibal down to his to doing his laps and jumped in and
looking great,
looking great,
Max,
and got him.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen him.
Yeah, Hannibal got.
He got
he
for
got
sure.
in. And so that and that exchange, Hannibal there and that vulnerability. It's the first time we ever seen really the second time we've seen Hannibal that vulnerable, because we had that fight with Tobias. Which you feel like, at a certain point, Tobias may have had the upper hand, but
but this was major.
Yeah, like he
there was no hope.
He's struggling on the bucket. He's got a noose on his neck.
He has his wrists slashed.
His wrists are slashed. I mean, it's sort of like the clock is ticking. It's very much reminiscent of the old Batman thing, where it's like one of those traps where, like, it's where Batman and never mind, forget it. Anyway,
nerd.
But I'm a nerd. Anyway, yeah. So either he's gonna bleed out or he's gonna hang himself.
Yep.
And the guys are sort of watching to see what he can do and contemplating the fact that maybe they'll call me the Shrike. Maybe I can take credit for your crimes.
By the way, we keep on calling it the Shrike. I think it's the Chesapeake Ripper.
Yes, it is
because
the
the
Chesapeake
Shrike
Ripper.
was
Abigail's
father.
Thank you for saving.
You're welcome. Sorry,
thank
I
you
needed
for
to get that out there.
Me and
Thank
you
Before
and all
the
of
internet
us from an internet
skewered us
onslaught
with
of-
antlers.
They still will.
But just know,
Yes.
we're getting it right.
Not the Shrike, the
Chesapeake
the
Ripper.
Chesapeake Ripper. Jeez, the Ripper. So he said, maybe I'll take credit for being the Ripper.
Yes.
Which is sort of cool.
So don't you think that, like, this little kid, I mean, he's like his little baby face, a little orderly, he's trying so hard. The first murder that he did, which employed a piece of every single murder that he thought Will had done, that was just a copycat. So this is him, like, really trying to prove himself, and he went over the top. I think he got in a little bit over his head, even though he was going to kill Hannibal probably. Right. But I mean, with the crucifixion and the bucket and the history of the bucket and the noose and the slashed wrists and on top of the marble staircase, like, my God, kid.
Yeah. I mean, he went in. He definitely went in. I'm really curious what'll happen to. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But he was trying to. Poor Hannibal is up there vulnerable and very much trying to tell the kid that, look, Will's not like us. Like, Will is not a killer. Will is not, in other words, you're idolizing and following the wrong guy. Like in his last breath.
Well, how ironic is it that the orderly wanted to bond with Will because he wanted to be a group of hawks that get to fight the smaller birds.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, here he is trying to kill the real hawk.
Exactly.
And letting the bird survive.
And I really got the sense that if Hannibal wasn't, bleeding out and with a noose around his neck, he probably could have talked that kid down. Like, he was really already in some manipulating mode, like, because he's Hannibal Lecter. He's a master manipulator. Yeah, so he's very much like, Will's not like us, but the kid wasn't really quite listening. But he I feel like given Hannibal, if he wasn't, it just shows Hannibal's, mental strength that he was in that vulnerable position, yet still almost talked his way out of that situation.
And don't you think he seemed truly betrayed and kind of sad when he found out that Will put out this hit on him? Like, he was bummed. He
was really bummed. Well, this is why I wonder. Well, we got to talk about, because Alana Bloom and Jack, figure out that he's the guy he's after, Hannibal. So they go and they find where Hannibal is.
Gideon.
Thanks to Gideon, and they go and they track him down, and they save him at the last minute, killing the kid. The kid's dead, right? Or did they wound the kid? I can't remember.
I don't know if the kid's dead.
And Nando, is the kid dead? The orderly?
He fell. He dropped. I don't know. I wasn't there to perform CPR. So
okay,
I don't know.
So you were on the scene.
No, I was not on the scene.
But so that's what we're left with, and it just really begs the question for episode 6, like, what? I mean, how is Hannibal going to react to being betrayed by Will in this manner? Will he want to exact, and how much revenge can he exact on Will when Will's already in prison? So that's the first thing. The second thing is how is Dr. Bloom and Jack going to react? Because they know too.
Yes.
So what does this mean that he's trying to kill Hannibal?
I mean, it's hard. Part of me thinks that, or maybe part of them will be just appalled that he would go this far to employ someone this crazy to go after and kill Hannibal in such a horrific way. But then you think, don't they have to think if he went this far to employ this crazy kid to kill Hannibal, he must really, really mean it. Like, he must really want him dead.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, so that may be like, well, if Will wants him dead this bad, then maybe
badly.
Will is right. Or Will is crazy.
Here's the thing, too. It's just that Will is accused of committing murders. And here he is now, according to Alana, she found out that he is trying to commit a murder from inside the asylum.
Yeah, and Alana's not going to like that.
Assassination attempt. She walks in on seeing Hannibal decked up on a cross, bleeding to death with this bucket, like this whole elaborate thing that's very similar to a lot of the murders that they've been witnessing from the Ripper.
But I think it was missing a touch of the artistry.
There's guilt right there that she's probably doubting.
Right.
Whether he's guilty or innocent. Yeah.
I agree with what you said, too. I agree with everything you said there, and I think that Alana's going to have some trouble because of her feelings for Will, and, there was that weird flirtation she had with Hannibal with the beer, in season one. So maybe she'll flip back over to liking Hannibal. I don't know, but I do agree with you, Jules. Is lacking some of the artistry of the other, of the other killings.
And I don't think that Jack will see it, and I don't think Alana will see that, but it's something that maybe he could bring to the forefront of their minds and just sort of make them recognize that.
Yeah. Okay, well, a fantastic episode. It's hard for me to believe that we're only in 5 episodes in. I feel like there's been so much story and so much things, like so many things that have happened in these last 5 hours, and, this is really fantastic storytelling in my point of view.
I love this show so much.
Yeah, I love it too. It's good to do a show that we love so much.
I adore it.
I do. Let's get a touch of news and gossip here.
AfterBuzz TV News.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, there's been a lot of brouhaha about the death of Beverly Katz. And, just mild, weird criticism to Brian Fuller over sort of, how sexist and racism, it just, I don't want to do a whole commentary of, people jumping on stuff ahead of time, because I think that it's very important to point out these things when they do exist. Sexism, racism, and lack of diversity in television, those are all things that we all want to point out and talk about. But in this case, get off Brian Fuller's back. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, they've done an excellent job of bringing a lot of diversity in race and in gender to, not that the characters in Thomas Harris's books weren't so diverse, Barney, my man Barney, the orderly, but yeah, so the fact that he made Beverly Asian, and the fact that we talked about the other adjustments he's made and will continue to make, continue to find different ways to have different spins in these characters that we love. I mean, it's been really cool. So and that to me, Gideon mentioned something that was key here, is that Dr. Katz was supposed to die in season 1, actually. And so Brian Fuller was thought, like, because the character's so great and the character's been so cool, let's extend that out into season 2. So, I mean, get off his back, people. I mean, Nando, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing. She could have ended up staying alive and been regulated to, like, the 3 minutes that Scott Thompson gets every single week, or our man Zeller. Or she could have a chance to shine for the first 4 episodes of season 2 and become the main person, going after Hannibal, since Will is incarcerated,
right? And
have this glorious death and still have a very memorable role. Yeah. I mean, so she died, but I think the the latter is a little bit better than the former. I mean, yeah, it's great to have a role. Speaking as an actor, it's great to have a role every single week on a TV show, but it's also great to have a memorable role that people are going to talk about, and there's going to be a lot of buzz behind. And I think that's what they created with this. I don't think people should really look at it as, we just decided to get rid of an Asian American on the show,
or a woman,
instead of and to say, look at the part that this person played. It was a really well done job that she did. We didn't go on the previous weeks and say, oh God, the person playing Beverly Katz, Eddie Park, is not that good. No, she did a great job, and she played her role, and her character got to shine. And as we said last week, kind of like Icarus, she got a little too close to the sun, and her wings fell off. I think that's a glorious way to go. So, yeah, I call shenanigans on that whole thing. I think people really should have a lot of respect for the role the actor played. I think she went out in a glorious way. And, yeah, maybe she's not getting a steady paycheck, but really that's not for you to say. That's for her to say. And she's an established actress, and I'm sure she's going to get another job very, very soon.
Hot take Velasquez.
Yeah, man, couldn't agree with you more.
Hot takes.
I have nothing to say. You hit it all.
Well, let's jump into predictions then.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Nando.
Yes.
Your prediction, sir?
Still on
You're actually going with me first?
Yes, I'm calling you first. Get you out of the hallway.
What?
Get you out of your Hollywood hallway. Stairwell. What are you in the stairwell? Where are you?
I'm just gonna say what looks obvious from scenes from next week, man. It looks like some Bloom Hannibal action in bed.
Ben? I didn't see scenes from next week.
I watched on
What?
iTunes. I missed scenes from next week.
Oh shoot! Well,
What?
there's a little scene. It looks like a little flirtation. Looks like they might get it on.
Well,
you know what? I'm gonna say Alana is trying to play Hannibal and get in an affair of the heart to try and get to dig more. That's all.
Man, he broke out some of that beer. The beer's back.
The beer is back, which I predicted in season 1,
You
by
did.
the way, that they would have a little something. And I didn't see that since I didn't see scenes from next week, but that's really interesting. I would think that maybe it's Alana playing Hannibal, but maybe it's Hannibal playing her as well to get to Will, to get under his skin, because they always have that special thing.
Sure.
You didn't. Were you done with your prediction, Nando? I just jumped on it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm going to predict that that Hannibal has it in for Freddie now. You know, he came out and he said, "Well, that was rude," and we know that Hannibal does not handle rudeness well. It's something he does not tolerate.
He ingests them well, though. His tummy handles them well.
Well, yes. So I think she's in for something coming up soon.
Okay.
Really, Alana and Hannibal were in bed?
Yeah.
Wait, what's yours?
Mine is that the death of this orderly opens the door for Barney. Hopefully we'll see some Barney. Although I heard that they didn't have the rights to Barney because they only have the rights to some characters. But I'd like to see Barney come in. I would like to play Barney. Brian. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't think that. Anyway, so maybe we'll see Brian. We'll see. Nando, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Nandovel, Nandovel, and with you guys on shows like The Following, Blacklist, Bates Motel, stuff like that.
All right. Julia.
Find me on Twitter and on Instagram with my name, which is Julia Cearley. It's JuliaCearley. And like Nando said, on these shows with you guys.
Joe Braswell, Instagram, Joe K. Braswell, and Twitter, Joe K. Braswell, on both Twitter and Instagram. Joe Sanfelippo, who's not here, you can find him on Twitter at Joe Flippo and on JosephSanfelippo.com, JosephSanfelippo.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for episode 6.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
You know what I'm talking Buzz. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.